So the story by Shams and Anthony Slater.
Great story.
Well, I wish Slates would come back on.
Bonus slates?
Well, I got one follow-up question because we just played hey, is this relationship salvageable?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. You know, I think there's a month till the trade deadline. I think there's a lot of question marks on the future of this team. A handful of players who I think we'll find out a lot more by the trade deadline, and we'll find out where this front office wants to take this thing. I think if Kuminga is playing steady, consistent minutes. I mean, he has started the last 11 straight games, but the one thing I will say about Steve Kerr is I do think the job this season is very challenging. The mix, the amount of players that should probably be in the rotation, but also the veterans that have earned it who aren't playing well. I mean, we've talked about it all year, but this is not an easy mix to coach.
Okay, so if he says, I don't know if it's salvageable. Well, the article, quote, Thursday night was the straw that broke the camel's back. That doesn't sound salvageable to me.
Can a camel get back surgery? One hump or two.
Not on the cheap.
Right. So, I mean, the straw that broke the camel's back, according to the source, which I would imagine the source comes from one of Kuminga's people, if it's not salvageable, then he's getting dealt. And you got 34 days to figure it out.
And you have to act like that if you're the agent, because your threat does not hold any water if you're like, boy, we want to trade unless you do something different over the next 4 days.
Exactly.
That's just like, no, that doesn't, you have to act big.
And also in the moment, you're going to be more upset than you would be. Like tonight, if he goes out and plays 38 minutes and gets 37 and 14.
What if he doesn't play at all?
Wow. I mean,
I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't know. Look, here's the wording of the tweet, and don't kill the messenger. Shams and Anthony are just telling you exactly what Johnny's agent called and told them to say. And I say it like that because I'll be straight honest with you. I was a little bothered by the wording. I'm not bothered by his frustration. That's understandable. Not only should he have played, this is a bigger issue than last night, and we know that. If you've been following the Warriors at all, you know that Kuminga, his development, his opportunity has been a repetitive issue. This is nothing new to the organization, and it's not the first time that he's spoken up. I was hard on him in the playoffs last year for sure, because I didn't like him speaking up to the Chronicle while he watched rebounds fly over his head. So there's that. But now get to here, to present day, and listen to this wording. Shams writes, after sitting the final 18 minutes of the Nuggets' loss, Warriors forward Jonathan Kaminga has lost faith in Steve Kerr and no longer believes that Kerr will allow him to reach his full potential. Okay. No longer believes that Kerr will allow him to reach full potential. All right. I mean, that sounds like a genuine feeling. He's lost faith in Steve Kerr. I got a little bit of trouble with that. That's a little problematic when the 21-year-old raw, unproven star, hopeful star, I should say, has lost faith in the four-time champion coach and the epic superstar who is alongside the four-time champion coach, who has probably got as much to say about this as the coach. The fact that Kuminga is having a hard time finding faith in them.
In him, not them. It's just him.
Okay, fine.
According to the report. But
it's a team.
I get it.
Steve Kerr is the Warriors. Like there has been nothing but kumbaya for 10 years of everybody being largely on the same page when it comes to basketball. Sure, there have been disagreements, but when it comes to basketball, it's an orchestra. It's a concert. We know it. We watched it. It's the best. It's the best thing I've ever seen on a basketball court. And now someone who's 21, I've lost my faith in this outfit. I don't know. Yeah. For me, that's supposed to be the other way around.
It's strong, but it's clear that the other way around is in existence. So it's pretty clear to me that Steve Kerr has lost his faith in Jonathan Kaminga. And you go back to last year's playoffs where Jonathan Kaminga went from 16 to 8 to 4 to 0 in terms of minutes. So if you're Kuminga, it's pretty clear that Steve Kerr and the rest of the power team, quote unquote, they lost faith in him last year. And then this year, Draymond's out, and now we got faith in you again because now we need you. And then you get to a game against Denver where you play well, and you're 5 of 7, you got 16 points, you're attacking the rim, and no one else really is, and you're doing all the things they want you to do. 1 turnover, 4 assists, and he's playing pretty well last night.
Yeah, he really did.
And then you don't play again the rest of the ball game. I could see where he's going to be hurt. He's going to be upset.
I know, but
now the fact that he went and he had his people, I don't know if he had his people or if the people just went on their own. I doubt they went rogue and went to Anthony Slater and Shams Charania on their own. That part of it is a little bit troubling to me. But I think what is being said, I don't think it's wrong because Steve Kerr clearly lost faith in him.
I don't know if he ever had it.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you have faith in him? The guy's been playing great. He's been double digits for the past month and a half.
Why wouldn't you have faith in Jonathan Kaminga at the end of games? Because he's never done it before in his life.
But he's playing well. This is the best stretch of NBA he's ever had.
But this is brand new. Like I love that we act like Kuminga's established now. Again, I want to back up. I have zero argument with the idea that last night stunk. That was not right. He should have played.
Right. And that's where the comments come from.
And that's, well, no, I didn't know. They got to be bigger than that. You don't go to Shams based on one night. You go to Shams based on 2 years of disappointment.
Right. And I think last year in the playoffs is a big part of it because last year in the playoffs.
He was wrong last year in the playoffs. He was.
He absolutely was. Yeah. And then this summer, he went and he got in the lab, Mark. He went to the lab and he put in the work and he came back and he's been more mature and he's been more, I think, present. He hasn't pouted in these moments. And then you get to a spot last night on national TV where you're playing well against the defending champs and you don't get a sniff over the final 18 minutes.
Total mistake.
But to me,
mistake.
It's more than just a mistake. It's an absolute blow to a young player who's played great.
I buy it. I buy it.
Now, to go out and have this come out, not only the next day, but hours later, that to me is either a tactical move, an immature mistake, or both.
Or napalm.
Well, and I think tactical move would be the napalm part of it. Like, you know what? That's why we're out of here.
Yeah.
Trade me. Trade him. Which.
Interesting time to do it.
For sure.
I mean, you're 21 years old. You're 21 years old.
Budding star.
Yeah, you're 21 years old.
Emerging Hall of Famer.
Can't make a free throw.
Got that ha-ha.
Yeah.
I texted Steiny that about noon, knowing that it would set him off. Because that's one of Guru's things.
Yeah.
You know, he's got that that's the ha-ha.
I'm going to try to ride this line all day. I know it'll be hard for some people to hear. It's
tough.
Well, it's just two different things.
You're keeping it real, though.
No, there's now, and then there's the whole issue. There's now. Last night was on Kerr. Last night was on Kerr. I have no issue with that, and I don't know who would even – I haven't heard anyone disagree with that. But in my opinion, too many people are taking last night and maybe even a couple other examples from this year, and you're making this umbrella issue out of it, and that's why I asked my question. So and again, is that where we are? You've assessed 34 games, and maybe last year too. Some of you will take this back to Draymond and Jordan, whatever it is you're thinking. And you have done all the analysis and you have decided Steve Kerr is the problem. That's what it sounds like, and that's where I have an issue. If you think that there's someone else on planet Earth right now that if they were coaching the Warriors, this team would still be contending for a championship, or if you feel like championships should not even be part of the thought process anymore and this should all be about development, and the Warriors have a player development problem, that to me is a more interesting point that might be fair. The problem with that is, in my opinion, if you feel that way, I'd like to know what the hell you even want Steph Curry on the team for anymore. If it's time,
he's your best player.
No, but it's time for the future. Forget now. Now's over. That's what I keep hearing all day.
Now's only over when you keep one of your most dynamic players on the bench.
But if now's over, then who cares?
Well, now's not over yet.
The Pistons are in town. You think they care if they win tonight?
Oh, absolutely.
No, they don't. The players do.
Oh, the Warriors care.
Yes.
I thought
the
you meant,
Pistons don't care if they
Of course
win.
not.
Because they're all about the future. So if now is over, why do y'all care who won the game last night?
Because they don't think that now is over.
Right. And if they don't think that now is over, then Steph Curry and Steve Kerr still need to be a big part of this.
Fine. Be a big part of it.
That's all I'm saying.
But get your ego out of the way and allow yourself to play players who are playing well instead of the old tired thing of let's play Chris Paul and let's play Kevon Looney, who's not the Kevon Looney he used to be. And if Kuminga and Wiggins really can't play together, then do something about it.
Then you should trade one of them.
If it's about now, then something's got to change for the now.
I agree with you there. Like if you're going to say, and the Warriors have, we're going to make it up as we go along in terms of the closing lineup, well, then you need to stop doing the fallback of Klay Thompson and Chris Paul all the time. They've started to finally do it with Wiggins.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's in, sometimes he's not. I think and that's why I keep saying that his job this year is difficult. I think this is an incredibly, not just dangerous game, I think it's impossible. This thing that they're all doing, we'll just see who's playing well, and we're just going to go with it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Athletes need to know what it is that is expected of them. They need to know what they're preparing for. And the coaches, if they go by this, like make it up as we go along thing, you're automatically turning yourself into some sort of a psychic or something. Like you're supposed to know who's going to go out there in the last 5 minutes and hit shots. And if they're hot, are you still going to be hot? Or are you going to be done with your hot? And if you were hot back in the second quarter, will you be hot again? It's impossible. Well, there's no way to know who's going to play well. They could have gone back to Kuminga, and he could have come in and ruined the game.
Could have.
He could have.
But maybe you give him that chance.
I absolutely would have.
Because it's not like Wiggins in the fourth quarter was hot.
No, but
he was 2 of 3 in the quarter.
NBA teams don't do it this way for a reason. I think the Warriors should pick a route and go with it for a while. And if that's not working, then you can change. But when you change, go with a new route. Make it up every day as you go doesn't work.
Well, what doesn't work is what they're doing right now. When you've blown 4 leads of 18 points or more, and when you get into a quarter where you're up by 18, and then it's down to 15, and it's down to 12, it's cut to 10, and you use your timeouts, maybe you sub in a guy who has played pretty well, even though he might be a little bit cold, because, man, it's been a while since Jonathan Kaminga's played. He's 21. A 21-year-old has a greater ability to heat it up and get ready than a 39-year-old.
I have no argument with you.
And I'm not trying to nitpick over last night only. I look at the bigger issue, which Jonathan Kuminga is clearly frustrated by his role. And he feels like he's done all he can to play well, get better, defend better, and do all the things they want him to do. And yet you get into the biggest game of the year and he can't sniff the court. It's frustrating.
Yeah, totally. That I get. That I get. But again, so now Steve Kerr is the problem. And
no, he's a problem.
And you'd like to do something about it.
I'd like him to change his ways.
Okay.
I don't want to.
I'm fine with that. It's like I just said. You got to pick a route in the fourth quarter. You can't make it up as you go along every game.
You can make it up, but their finishing lineup is always changing. It's not like they go with the same 5 no matter what.
It shouldn't. They need to have a closing 5.
They don't have a closing 5.
They need to find one.
And that's the bigger problem in their team. Then.
They need to find one.
Well, maybe you go to a guy who's played great for the first 2.5 quarters, and maybe you throw him in the closing lineup.
I have no issue with that, but do it, and then do it every game. Maybe a tweak here or there based on a matchup or something like that. But this whole, I'm going to go by feel, 8 minutes to go in the game, and, gee, well, you look good, and let's see, you've played well, and, I forgot about you. Let's see, are you sweating still? Does anyone need to go to the bathroom? It's an impossible situation.
Well, they're searching because they don't have it. Right now, they've got one guy who they feel like they can close with, and he made the biggest turnover of the night.
Yep.
So he's the only guy. Steve was in need of a closer, and R&S Garage Doors is not going to help him, unfortunately. You got Steph, and you've got a whole bunch of who knows what.
Let's go to Dallas and Oakland. Hey, Dallas, thanks for calling. You're on with Willard and Dibs. We're going to get to all of you who are waiting to weigh in. Let's do it. Hi, Dallas.
Hey, what's up, man? Good afternoon.
To you as well.
To
you as well.
Oh, appreciate you, sir. So all this, Kuminga's only 21, and he needs to bow down to Steve Kerr. And for the reason, not just because why we lost last night, but Steve Kerr definitely needs to swallow his ego. We don't need to trade him, obviously. He's a great coach. But in this instance, he is wrong. Kuminga should have played not only last game, but the game we lost before. We keep going with Wiggins in the fourth. Wiggins is not a closer. He doesn't have that sort of DNA in his veins. He poops the bed in the fourth quarter a lot of the times. We need to it's not like Kuminga's asking for the reins. He's not saying, give me the reins, coach. But he is saying, can you loosen him up and allow me to be what I want to be? We were using words like phenom in regards to Kuminga, and now all of a sudden he's not even playable in the fourth quarter. That doesn't make sense. And when I look at it, the only consistency is Steve Kerr needs to swallow, because last night he thought we were going to win. Then he was going to come to the podium and say, remember that one time that I went with Wiggins instead of Kuminga and we lost? Well, I did it last night and we won. But that scenario didn't happen. We lost because the universe doesn't reward stupidity. And the Nuggets should have never came down to the last shot of the game. And because it came down to the last shot, that's why it went in, because that's how if you guys play basketball, that's how it goes. But Willard, I love you, but you said, oh, well, Kuminga's young and these are four-time champions. We can't keep saying that because we won't get to the fifth championship if we keep standing on the four that we already got.
Jonathan Kaminga's not leading you to a fifth championship either, Dallas. So I get everything that you're saying. But the problem, and Dallas, thank you. It's a really good call. What I'm saying is, and where so many of these arguments, to me, fall apart, is we get collectively caught up in the momentary frustration, and many of you want to act on that, I believe. Whether that's firing Steve Kerr or trading Draymond. And I keep wanting to ask, to what end? I have no issue if you think Kuminga should have played in the fourth quarter last night. Of course he should have. But all of the Kuminga fans out there, are you under the impression that if they turn the keys over to Jonathan Kuminga, that's going somewhere at age 21?
Would it help in the future?
Maybe.
If he played more high-leverage minutes against the defending NBA champion instead of Kevon Looney, who played 4.5 minutes in the fourth quarter, 0 points and 4 fouls?
Maybe.
Could Kuminga have done better than that?
Probably.
In 4.5 minutes?
Again, I will not argue that he should have played last night, but I also told you yesterday I couldn't give a rip about the future. If I give a rip about 2027 or 2026, then I don't care about Steph Curry anymore.
But do you care about January 4th? And the answer is yes, and that was yesterday.
We're on the same page about January 4th.
But you kicked it, and you kicked it because you're stuck. Steve Kerr is stuck in this mindset of playing veterans no matter what. And you played Chris Paul, and he made one shot in the fourth quarter, and he did next to nothing. You played Kevon Looney, and you thought maybe he could defend Jokic, and he couldn't. Do something different. How are you going
to say that Steve Kerr is stuck in the idea of playing vets when Podziemski and TJD are all over the floor?
TJD played 2 minutes in the fourth quarter.
Okay, but that's TJD.
Podziemski's a different case.
Right. So how are you going to say?
I'm saying Chris Paul and Kevon Looney. Those are the examples I'm citing.
That's fine, but we can't use a label that has already been disproven.
The label fits when it comes to Kevon Looney, a guy who's having a bad year, and he's looking less like the championship Kevon than ever. And yet we continue to put him out in these situations, and we expect him to be something that he's not anymore.
That's totally fine, but we cannot say that Steve Kerr refuses to put young players in at the end because Podziemski's playing 30-something minutes a night.
Yeah, I didn't say that. I said that
did say that.
No, I said he's stuck in the mindset of playing the veterans.
Right.
Overplaying Jonathan Kaminga. Now, whether or not he thinks Kaminga is good enough to play in these spots, or if he thinks that, Loon is the answer, he clearly wasn't the answer last night.
I mean, that's my question. If you're frustrated, and I get it, let poke around with that for a little bit. Why do you think Steve Kerr is doing this? Why? He hates Jonathan? He doesn't like his family? I mean, why?